Hello, everyone. I'm Captain Logan, and look, it's once again Austin the Day Ghost.
We're back.
We're back, a dinosaur story, and it's time for another list video. And this one, ostensibly, will not be in multiple parts.
No, unless we suck, this definitely shouldn't be multiple parts.
But I refuse to make such promises. Tonight, Austin and I are going to go through our ostensible 10 best comic runs of all time. And I say ostensible because I found this to be one of the hardest lists I've ever put together. There's so much stuff that I wanted to put here that I had to leave off, and I don't feel good about it. Austin, there are both writers and whole characters that I feel very remiss not being able to include on my top 10.
Yeah, no, I hear that.
Now, it sounded like you had a little bit of a different experience putting this together because you said this is a thing you think about a lot, and so you already had a lot of your list kind of locked in.
Yeah, I'd say I had at least 6 that were like, these are locked in, like, just from the start. So I'm like, I already know that those are going to make it. So after that, it's just kind of figuring out what the other 4 are.
I don't want to ruin your delivery of your list, so I'm not gonna make any guesses. But I have guesses. There are some things that I'm pretty sure will be on your list, and I'm curious to see if I'm right about them. There's part of me that wants to be like, here are the things that I think are on Austin's list. Let's see how many I can get, but I'm not gonna do that.
You might be able to knock out a 10. I mean, you're free to try. Like, that's
No,
fine.
I'm not gonna do that. There are let me say I'm pretty sure I could guess at least 3 or 4 for absolute sure, and I will also say I think we will have at least 2 if not 3 crossover.
Okay, yeah, I was interested to see like how much crossover we'll have because I could see it going either way.
There are also some things that there's also at least 1 or 2 things that I'm thinking that could cross over that might not have quite cracked your 10, that could have been like 11s or 12s or something.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
So, we're gonna get into this here pretty quick. I've got lots of runners up. I'm not gonna read absolutely everything I wrote down today, because I had to narrow this down from a list of like 30. But I will probably at the end give you at least. Well, I was gonna say my next 10. I didn't even rank the rest of them. I've just got a list, but I'll write. I'll at least give you the ones that were in the running. For the 10 at the end because I narrowed it down from 30 to 18. So I'll give you at least those 18, and getting it to the 10 was just preposterous. A week from now I'm going to look back at this and I'm going to be like, nah, you mook, you did it wrong. So I don't know.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure I will have that too.
Nicholas Bodo didn't know comic book late night, got a bonus stream tonight. That's basically, I mean, we're doing it late. We're talking about comics. This could have been a segment on that, except, I don't think we'll have to do multiple parts for this, but I also don't think we could have worked this into a comic book late night. That would have been a mistake.
No, that would have been a struggle getting it in as a segment. Like, this is kind of like what we did with that, just like our 10 over the year, and I'm sure we'll probably do that at the end of this year as well.
Yeah.
Where it's like that kind of has to be separate, otherwise that entire show will just be that.
Oh yeah, you're talking about like the 10 what was
like best
it?
comics of the year that we read.
From, series. No, I definitely want to do it this year because I will have actually bought books all 12 months. I'll have more to pick from.
Yeah.
No,
good call.
That'll be a lot of fun. No, this was Austin's idea. I threw some. We wanted to do an extra stream tonight because we were doing a request that not a lot of people know about. It turned out to be a really good show, but it's a thing that a lot of people didn't know about. A show on Comedy Central called Review. You can go check out our review on Review, and then I'm out of town starting tomorrow over the weekend, so we're not able to do a stream tomorrow night. We're not able to do the Rewind Commentary Project. So I wanted something else to sit there over the weekend that more folks would want to watch. So it's a bonus stream, and it's also kind of a Friday stream. It's not really a bonus stream.
Yeah, it's a fill-in stream.
Exactly.
Substitute stream.
RJ Godzilla throws in some things that he says better be on there. Uh, and I'm sure there's at least one of these that will not be on either of ours. I don't know if I want to read them out loud because, again, I don't want to spoil anything. So
I think all four are on your list. I'm just gonna throw that out
oh,
there.
all
That's
right.
my prediction.
Okay. So we'll maybe look at that again later. Austin, you want to go first or second this time?
Doesn't bother me, whatever you're thinking. And do you want to start with honorable mentions, or do you want to just like jump straight
No,
in
I
and then
want to do
mention
those at
that
the
later?
end.
Okay, that's fine.
I went through the 10 for people to have no idea what might come up.
Okay, that's a good call.
Why don't you start?
Okay, my number 10 is actually one I thought of while refilling my water, and I was like, "Oh my god, how did I not think of this today?"
So
I'm so
you
lucky I
so
was able
you
to sneak it
changed it at
in.
the last minute.
At the last minute, I was able to get this on, and I was like, "Thank God," because this is one of my favorite runs, and I would have very much been kicking myself if I didn't think about it until now. And that is Steve Englehart's Batman with Marshall Rogers.
That's one I was for sure would be on your list.
Yeah, and I don't know how, just for whatever reason, that just slipped my mind all day when thinking about books. And yeah, that one's really important to me. I originally had that collection of the Marshall Rogers Batman stuff, and that was how I originally read it. And it's fantastic, both that original run and then when they come back with Dark Detective, like all of that stuff is just fantastic.
Didn't we review that not too long ago?
We did, yeah, because I think maybe you and Eric reviewed at least the like Hugo Strange section
We did.
of the original run, and then you and I reviewed Dark Detective.
Yeah, and I remember really liking that. Not a lot of details are coming to me right now in the moment, but I remember really liking that.
Yeah, no, just really great classic Batman material.
And that art is what I want from Batman.
Yeah, I probably mentioned it there, but Marshall Rogers is my favorite Batman artist, and there's a million to choose from. Like that's no diss to anybody else, but uh, I think part of it is also just it. I got that at like the exact right time.
I think I have like two types of Batman that are constantly fighting each other for the definitive like comic look of Batman. Because I talk all the time about Breyfogle and like that early '90s look, and that is probably my absolute favorite. But then when I go back to that '70s and early '80s stuff, I'm like, okay, but this feels more kind of classic and definitive.
Yeah,
Some of it's
yeah,
just
definitely.
colors, right? Because we've gone to a darker color scheme by the time we hit like Grant and Dixon and all those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We've like very much darkened it, whereas like with Englehart, we're still in like a brighter blue era.
Yeah, and just the juxtaposition sometimes of, I mean, you get a lot of goofy stories during that period, but you also get some darker stuff, and just the juxtaposition of serious street level Batman like dealing with organized crime and gangbangers and stuff in that real bright blue suit. I've always really appreciated.
No, same. And I probably mentioned this a million times on stream, but like if you were to say Batman and like I close my eyes and like what's the first image that comes to my mind? It's like the classic blue suit, the oval and whatnot. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what I think of first.
So let me ask you real quick before I get to mine. Why
Yeah.
Rogers over Adams?
I mean, like I said, that becomes just a case of there's a billion great artists. Like I said, I think it's just I was the right age when I found that stuff, and it's what I think of. Like it becomes almost like the comfort artist,
Sure.
similar to I would say kind of what you have with Brayfogle.
Absolutely.
Uh, so like I would say it's that. Like obviously Neil Adams is also one of the greatest Batman artists of all time. So is Frank Miller. So is Brayfogle. Like there's, I remember once hearing Mark Millar say, comic book artists when they come into the business, they want to become, the best artist on an obscure character because otherwise you're going to end up being one of the pile for Batman. Where it's
Yeah,
like there's just so many artists you could name as like could be the best artist on the character.
and people get buried. You kind of forget about them. When you
Yeah,
hear that name again, you're like, oh yeah, I know that guy's great too.
yeah, exactly. No, there's
I don't
so many to
think
count.
Jim Aparo gets talked about enough.
No, and Jim Aparo's amazing.
I was sitting here trying to think of that name, and I was like, I'm gonna come up with a name that gets buried that's not talked about enough. It's Aparo. That's a good one.
You're like Bob Kane's assistant.
Okay, should we move on?
Yeah. What's your number 10?
My number 10 should absolutely, admittedly, be higher on my list, but it's not a run that, admittedly, I know as well as I want to, and that I've even read all of. I've
Yeah.
read quite a bit of this, and it's so informative, or it's so formative, I should say, for my appreciation of this character in general. And this is also a writing artist thing, like simultaneously. So some of this has as much or more to do with the look of it as story stuff, but it's also like totally reinventing this character, and I probably wouldn't like him as much if it weren't for this run. And this is a run I'm kind of expecting to see on your list, so we'll see if I'm right about it. But my number 10 is John Byrne Superman.
I'm gonna shock you.
You
It's
didn't include
not
it.
just. I didn't include it. I was about to say same reason I didn't include this book, but I'll leave that for honorable mentions. Which is just that I've only read about a quarter of it because I put it down because I think we were going to review it at one point and then it just kind of fell through.
Yeah,
So I
we
need to
haven't
get
gotten
back
to it
to
yet.
it. But yeah, Burns Superman and Wolfman Superman, cause they're just kind of the same to me because that's how I read them. Like they're traded together. Fantastic stuff. Like 100%. If I read more of it, probably would have made my list. But that's why I didn't.
And that's the reason that it's not higher on mine. I feel almost wrong even including it because I haven't read all of it. But like I said, it's too formative, and I think a lot of what Byrne does with Superman bleeds into all that 90s stuff that I loved as a kid. So like you can't have that stuff without it. And some of this becomes technicality, and I'll try not to, because this is boring. I'll try not to get too in the weeds with this, but I'll just say I had to say Byrne over like a Dan Jurgens because
Yeah.
some of my favorite stuff in Superman is Jurgens, but he's got a bumpy run. Like I can't include him over a Byrne. Byrne, from what I've read, has a pretty solid run throughout without a lot of hiccups. He's also not on it as long as Jurgens is, and so Jurgens is there through a lot of highs and lows. And you've got like Red and Blue Superman during Jurgens' run, and you're like, can you really put him on there when he's got so much like crazy? He kind of stuck around too long, and Byrne doesn't
No,
have
the big
that.
thing that Byrne would have is like that's like a dark spot on your run is just that weird like porn issue he did with Superman and Barda where they're like
Oh
mind
yeah, I
controlled.
remember that.
So like that's awkward, but like that's an
Well,
issue. Like
and I'm cheating with this a little bit because when I say John Byrne Superman, I'm also roping in Man of Steel, and
yeah.
that has a lot to do with it because I'm such a big Krypton guy, and he reinvented Krypton for all time. And obviously, we do like new reinventions all the time, but we're constantly going back to Byrne and kind of tweaking stuff he did with it. So
Mhm.
the the like isolationist Krypton and the Kryptonians I that like genetically engineer their children and all of that, like we haven't gotten away from that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's a great mini. And then once you get into the actual run, it's why I have to lump them together. I'm never really sure which issues are Wolfman and which are Byrne.
Yeah,
But like just all of it together is really building off of each other, and just great comics.
and that's why I said writing and art, because I don't know if Byrne's like my favorite Superman artist, but like he's up there. And when I was a kid, I always appreciated a lot of the covers with this book. Like that's one of the big things that got me into comics.
Yeah. Nicholas Bodo says how creepy is that porn issue? So it's less the story and more because John Byrne feuds with everybody in comics, and it's more because Barda is based off of Kirby's wife, and he was feuding with Kirby, so he like does it just to throw a jab at Kirby. So like, it's more weird for that.
That
But
is
just
strange.
all in all, it's just awkward.
What is your number 9?
My number 9 is a very classic, very obvious one, but I love it. It's my favorite run on the character. It's Lee and Ditko Spider-Man.
I, I I feel so weird not including that.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like it's such a good run that like it almost feels obligatory. So like
Hmm.
I also get not including it. But that's my comfort food Spider-Man. Like
Yeah.
I'm in the mood for the character, I'm going to read Lee and Ditko. It's like great. It's a great book for like the next 20 years after that. But like that is so much just what I think of for the character. And like I said, just the stuff I really enjoy reading. Like there's so many great issues in there.
Yeah, and it's probably objectively better than what I did with Spider-Man, but I did the same thing you did where I picked the run that's what I think of when I think of Spider-Man, and again that what kind of formed me as a Spider-Man fan. So, interestingly, my number 9 is also Spider-Man.
Oh,
And
fascinating.
instead of Stan Lee, which again I don't feel great about, but I was just trying to be honest. I also have not read Lee's entire run, and I've not read maybe every issue by this writer, but I've read a lot of it. But it's been a lot of years. This was the stuff I grew up with. Also, remember that I come to superheroes as much or more through extra media initially as I do comics, and this was a lot of this run was what informed the 90s cartoon show. And so like that stuff's with me real hard also.
Yeah.
So I went with Michelini.
Michelini's a great Spider-Man writer. Like I said, there's like a solid 20 years, possibly more, of just Spider-Man being a very consistently great book, and then it hits like the mid 90s like a brick wall,
Yes, it does
and
with
it's
Clone
never
Saga and
fully
all that.
recovered.
Yeah, well, and I enjoy some of the objectively kind of bad 90s stuff also, but once you get to Clone Saga, kind
Yeah.
of all bets are off. Like I love Maximum Carnage. It's not actually great, but it's
No, I'm
still
not
a
even
really
really
fun
thinking
thing to
of
go
that.
back
Like,
to.
obviously, it's very silly, but I am more so thinking of like the Clone Saga, where it's like that is a misstep that they've never fully recovered from.
Obviously, with Michelini, a lot of that is just giving us Venom and the symbiote stuff, and like he's there for the start of that, and he introduces Carnage, and I've had this on my mind because I recently had to replace my first appearance of Carnage, so I happen to have that also sitting on my desk. But anyway, um, I seriously considered going to DeMatteis instead, because of
This is
Craven's Last
great
Hunt,
too.
but it's really just that. Like, he doesn't have a long run,
It's
and
that and the some of his Green Goblin stuff's really good.
okay, because it's broken up some. Like, he is kind of right in the middle of Michelini, and then I think, and then he comes back. So I don't actually know how much more he did beyond Craven.
Off the top of my head, I know I think he does Harry as Green Goblin.
Oh, really?
Um,
Okay. See, again, all
yeah,
stuff that informs the cartoon show.
but I might be mixing it up. But he definitely does some Green Goblin stuff that's really good
Uh,
as well.
Jareth Gerhardt, Stern Spider-Man is underrated. I
Stern
kicked that
Spider-Man's
around
also really
too.
good. Yep. No, and because obviously I went specifically Lee and Ditko. Obviously, Lee and Romita's Spider-Man's amazing, and Lee and Romita is, I think, the reason why Spider-Man has endured. Like that is where it kind of evolves into what it will be, in being like the big, popular book. Um, but like, there's so many good runs to pick from.
Michelini also
It's
does a lot of the Hobgoblin stuff, and I've always really liked Hobgoblin.
Yeah, no, the Hobgoblin stuff's really great, and I love me some Jack O' Lantern. You also get, I think it's
Oh
Michelini
yeah,
that does the Rose, like around that time, and
I
that stuff's
think
really
that's
good
right.
too.
I'm very
Yeah,
rusty. A lot of this I haven't read in 20, 25 years,
yeah, I know
and
for sure.
need to give it a reread. But some of it also, of course, is art during that period because you've got Bagley and you've got in the early Michelini stuff, you've got McFarlane, of course, two of my favorite Spider-Man artists.
Yeah, absolutely. And no, it's interesting for me because out of my list, Leon Ditko's Spider-Man is the only thing that I read for the longest time without color, because I had it through the essential
Oh yeah, you
volumes.
told me about
So
that.
like, I didn't get to read those in color until like Marvel Unlimited.
That's so weird.
Now I'm like, oh, it's so weird seeing the stuff in color.
Okay, number 8.
Yes, number 8. Number 8 is Denny O'Neil's Iron Man.
I've never read that.
Uh, and you should, because it is a better version of Nightfall. Obviously, Nightfall's great, but Denny O'Neil's Iron Man feels like Nightfall before Nightfall, and it's fantastic. It's wonderful. Obviously, instead of the backbreak, we do Tony becomes addicted to alcohol again after the Michelini run, and
So is it
just all that stuff.
Michelini who does Demon in a Bottle?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay. I
exactly.
couldn't even remember
Yeah.
who wrote that. I've
Yeah,
read
which
that,
was,
but it's been forever. But I've read
it was
so
one of
many
my
Iron Man.
requests.
Oh, that's right. Before you were on the show.
Yeah, exactly. No, so Denny O'Neil's Iron Man is when he relapses and he becomes a homeless man, drinking alcohol on the side of the street while Rhodey becomes Iron Man. And that's where the Obadiah Stane stuff is. And just all of it's such good, classic, fun comics.
How long is he on that?
He's on it for a while. Like that might be like 50 something issues. He's on it for a while. And I think Byrne is the one who comes on after him. He's at least like right around there too. Like,
Does Byrne draw it too?
I think so, but I can't remember
Because
off the top of my head.
Byrne writes for artists sometimes, right? Or is he always drawing his own stuff?
I think he mostly draws his own stuff, but I could be wrong. Because obviously I know like he starts on on X-Men, sorry, with Claremont, like when he was just an artist, and then I think
Right.
after that when they give him FF, like he's kind of just writing and drawing.
Yeah,
He's also, like I said, feuds with everybody, so I don't know if you could get along with a
I didn't know
artist
that.
for long enough.
Yeah, you remember more about some creators like personalities and backgrounds and things than I do. Because like I've read Marvel: The Untold Story, I've listened to a lot of interviews. Some stuff sticks with me, and some of it doesn't. Like I need refreshers on that stuff a lot.
Yeah, well, there's just weird things where like I know there's I forget, it might be Casada, I think, like really had it out with Byrne, and like there was a lot of drama around there
Oh, crazy.
with that. Yeah, and Byrne's like a notorious asshole. He's like the Chevy Chase of comics, from what I understand.
Well, that's okay. I still like his stuff. I can still pick him.
Exactly, I like both of those guys, but it's part of their charm.
Well, what's funny is Byrne, I guess, kind of has what McFarlane would have later, except Byrne could actually write.
Sure, yeah.
Like McFarlane comes on as an artist. Eventually, he gets to write and draw his own stuff. Except he's good at one of these things.
Exactly. RJ Godzilla, who did Armor Wars? I forgot. That's in the second Michelini and Layden run when they come back. Actually, that might be what happens after Denny O'Neil.
When you pitched this, I didn't know we were going to be talking this much about Michelini tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we're having a lot of like creators that like jump around from things that we're talking about. Like Byrne's come up a lot, Michelini's come up a lot. I mean, all great creators.
Yeah, it's cool how much of our stuff has easily transitioned into the next. We were just talking about writer artists. My next book is a writer artist, and this is the first thing in my list that is a very short run. That's really just a mini series inside of a larger book. So this is only I've only got this in trade, so I actually can't remember how many issues this is. It's like it's 5 or 6, maybe 7. I can't remember. But it's Barry Windsor Smith on Weapon X.
Oh, okay. I wasn't thinking of that, but no, of course.
I adore this book, and it's one of those things where the first time I read it, I was really impressed with the art, and it's just moody and tragic, and I really enjoyed it. But it's one of those things that I like more and more every time I read it, and it's a book that I've gone back to a few times now. And I just always have an experience with it every time I go through it. And Winsor Smith is increasingly becoming one of my favorite artists just because of the ridiculous, meticulous detail he does in this. This is a series that I think people kind of forget was inside of a monthly. Weapon X originally came out in Marvel Comics Presents, and I always think of it as just a miniseries. But it, like Old Man Logan would have later, is inside of a larger book. You know, it has the same thing that like some of those major 80s Batman stories had that are inside of Batman, but you'd think that they'd be published by themselves.
No, and I think that's the first book so far that I've never read. I've never
Oh, you
seen
haven't?
any of it. I've never looked at that. I really should. But yeah, I've never gotten around to Weapon X.
Tell me what you think when you do. I think you'll like it. It's
Yeah,
very
it looks
violent.
wonderful.
And if you like seeing tons of circuitry, this is your book. Oh my
I was gonna say
god.
that's the main thing I think of with the art of that
That's
book from
that
what I've seen is just a ton of circuitry.
that's me too. But yeah, the doctor that creates Weapon X is just kind of horrifying and interesting enough in his own right. And I love how uh, like simple a story that is, but how complex his ideas kind of are. And it's not a it's not the deepest book, but it sticks with you.
Yeah,
Just in
no, for
speaking
sure.
to primal nature and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I also just had a thought. Actually, you were saying about how we've had creators weave in and out. I just remembered. I think Steve Ditko does an issue of Denny O'Neil's Iron Man, and those were like the two back-to-back things
Oh,
on my
crazy!
list. Yeah,
Uh,
because I remember seeing a character and being like, "Is this Steve Ditko? Is he working at Marvel at this point, doing stuff?" Oh, it is Steve Ditko. Okay.
RJ Godzilla says, "I'm sure Claremont's X-Men will be on at least one of your lists." I want to say straight away, since that came up, that I couldn't at this point in time, in good conscience, do it, just because I've not read enough of it. And I know Claremont has like 10 years plus on X-Men, then like a ton after that. Like he keeps coming back and stuff. I get that, and I know that
It's
a
like a
lot of my
comics monolith. Yeah.
yeah, and I know a lot of my favorite things with X-Men come from him, but my X-Men fandom is so much more outside of comics that I just in good I couldn't sit here and pretend like I'd read enough to do it, and I was already borderline with stuff like Michelini and like Byrne, where I'd read just enough. I felt like it made sense to put those
Yeah.
here, and they were too good. I felt like not to. Claremont, I also have that with like in preparation for making this point, I grabbed my Claremont signed Days of Future Past. I like
Yeah.
I love Claremont enough to go pay for his autograph, but I've not read enough. Like I haven't read Days of Future Past in probably 20 years. Like I don't actually remember the comics that well.
You're better off than I am. My X-Men history, that's one of my major blind spots in
Mm-hmm.
comics. I've read Stan Lee's run, and I've read the first issue of All New when it comes back in the 70s.
Oh wow.
That's it. I've not read anything else, so
I didn't realize that I read that much more than you had. Like I've read a
yeah, no,
decent amount
I've
of
not like
Morrison.
really touched any Claremont or Morrison or Whedon, any of that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Whedon's run's really good, but some of it too is I obviously really appreciate Claremont's characterizations and just the plethora of amazing characters he gave us. I have admittedly found him difficult to go back to sometimes. Like it's just a lot of words on a page,
Yeah,
and so
that's fair.
I will at some point sit down and do it. At least do some of the major stuff, but but I didn't feel like it made sense to do it. I didn't want to be obligatory about it, be like, well, we all know how wonderful Claremont is. Like, it's a best of list for our like where we are now in our knowledge.
Exactly. Yeah. Next up, I think we're on my 7. Is that where we are?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My number 7 is Steve Ditko's Doctor Strange, which is my favorite book from the 60s. Steve Ditko is my favorite artist. That is a book that's just all him.
You've made me read the first 2 arcs of it, or was that all of it?
We read all of it.
We read all of it. Okay. So yes, I have actually read this entire run. I enjoyed it, not as much as Austin.
Yeah, no, and I really like Englehart's Doctor Strange as well, but at the same time, for me, Steve Ditko is such a cool ball of creativity, and I specifically only listed him because it's really just his book. Like Denny O'Neil takes over as the writer at one point, and you can't tell it's the exact same. It's fantastic.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah, exactly. And you can also tell that it was all Ditko because the second Ditko leaves, the next storyline is about Doctor Strange stopping a mugging in a mall. And it's like, this is just, what are you doing? But we've got 2 whole reviews on that. What is your number 7?
Yeah, and I wasn't thinking of that, but obviously that's going to be on your list.
Yeah, no, like I said, that has just become my favorite 60s Marvel run. It's so good.
I think we haven't gotten to a big book I know is going to be, or a big one that I know is going to be on your list, and I think I might be able to peg your number 1. At least your number 2.
Okay.
My
Probably.
number 7 is maybe the only actual honest-to-God miniseries I put on this list. We decided to include minis as long, we didn't say this at the beginning, as long as they're not like intercompany crossovers. So because we're thinking about eventually maybe making a list of those also. So like your Secret Wars and your Crisis on Infinite Earths and that kind of stuff are not eligible for this, but it didn't have to be a run of a specific size, which is why I included Weapon X. So I also included, because I just couldn't help myself, I adore this every time I read, and this is one that I have gone back to a few times, although it's been a few years now. I've got a review on this from, God, probably 12 or 13 years ago now. But I went for Kurt Busiek's Marvels, and I don't know if you've ever read this, Austin.
I've not. You're on a run of books I've never read.
Oh wow! I love Busiek. I think he's one of those guys that does not drop the ball very often, and I think Marvel's, for what I've read of him, is kind of his masterpiece. I all but told him that when I met him, and he did not know how to take a compliment, and it was hilarious. But anyway, I mean, I wasn't like insanely forward about it. I just told him how much I love this book, and he had that look on his face, like I don't know how to take a compliment. But anyway, and irritatingly, I did not get a signature from him on any of these issues because I went to a show that I didn't know he was going to be there for, so I had to go in like back issue boxes at this convention and just find something that Busiek wrote. So I have a signature from Busiek on some random issue of Justice League. It's really funny. But anyway, Marvels is one of the great kind of love letter comics to a whole history of of comics, and so it's a love letter to history of Marvel, and it's one of the best examples of like a character on the street looking up at the godlike characters that kind of define the world around him. And so Marvel, of course, as we always talk about, as opposed to DC, starts a lot more character driven with flawed people that you recognize in the people around you and in yourself. But for the people that would be on the street looking at them, they would seem like the godlike characters that DC plays them more as. And so it's interesting to have that perspective and just get kind of the awe and wonder from street level. From a kind of Ben Urich-esque character. It's not Urich, but it's it's a reporter or a photographer, I can't remember which, that is documenting the goings on of superheroes, again, from street level, going through the decades. And so you hit a lot of the big kind of hallmarks throughout the Marvel Universe: the coming of Galactus, the death of Gwen Stacy, etc., etc. And it's Alex Ross, so the art is amazing, and it's some of my favorite covers in anything. And it's one of the best things the '90s gave us from either companies, and I cannot say enough good things about it.
One of Busiek's strengths is he's a giant nerd that very clearly loves his Marvel history. So like that kind of a book is very playing off of his strengths in the same way that like we talked about with Thunderbolts, where like he's clearly building off all these threads from like over 30 years at that point.
I momentarily forgot that was him too. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, he's just a giant nerd, and we love it.
You know, I meant to mention Thunderbolts to Bagley when I met him, and I forgot to do that.
Oh, okay. You weren't like, you were so excited to dress Spider-Man in Thunderbolts.
I wanted to bring that up. I wanted to be like, it was very surreal to get to Spider-Man on a page of your book, and you seem so excited to finally get to draw Spider-Man.
You weren't like, was it hard to come up with like 800 element design?
Okay, on to number 6.
Yes, number 6. Number 6 for me is Garth Ennis's Punisher Max.
I thought you'd have that, yeah.
Yeah, very predictable on my end of Punisher.
I have now read at least half of that, but completely out of sequence.
Just all over the place. Yeah, I think you and I did Widowmaker, I think was what we did on request.
It's all a jump.
But you've done more without me.
I had a guy that kept requesting them, but you just jump around all over the run. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that is the case. And I don't think you ever did the best arc, because I don't think you ever did Slavers. And Slavers is...
No, I think I did do that.
Oh, did you?
Remind me what happens in it.
So Slavers is about a woman that was in like a sex slavery ring, and she gets out, and then like Punisher helps her to look into it. And it has, I think, for me, the most haunting ending I've ever read in a comic, and has always really stuck with me, where Punisher talks about how it's like, yeah, I cleaned it up now, but like this is so deep, and it's like impossible to even pull back all the layers of how far this goes. So like every now and then it'll kind of seed up again, and I can, take it out, but like I'll never be able to fully remove it. And he's like, I was able to save like, I think it's like 8 women or something, and it's like most of them killed themselves or like went into prostitution, like fell down in another way. And it's like the one person, which is the person that like initially gets him on the case, it's like while he's having this monologue, you're seeing her like she works at a diner. She is like having like a normal life. She's walking home with her groceries, and then she walks in and she's in the comfort of her own home, and she just like collapses in tears. And that's just always really hit me, where I'm like, because I love endings to stories where you kind of can't go home after them, but there's like no real level of normalcy after. And that one specifically is just always like, oh, it hits me right in the chest.
Yeah,
it's so
I'm not
good.
sure if I did that one or not.
Yeah, I think off the top of my head, I feel like you haven't, but I could be wrong. But yeah, that for me, I think is my favorite storyline in that.
One where the gangster dug up Frank's like wife or something. There's.
I think that's maybe the one right before it. Because Slavers is 5, that might be 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that rings a bell, but I really thought I did that. Chewbacca's Lover is the guy that actually requested those. He's in the chat right now, and he says, I made you do all the arcs I cared about. The first arc was good, but not request worthy. And
that's fair.
And he said I did do Slavers. I thought I did.
Oh, okay. Okay, I must have just forgotten about it. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in it. The Barracuda story is also very fun. It's not as like heavy hitting, but like it's a very entertaining story. It's just all around. I agree with Chewbacca's Lover. Like I think the first, I'd say probably two arcs are like pretty good, but not like amazing. And then after that, it's all fantastic. But yeah, what is your number six?
And it seems like people. I'll get to that in just a second. It seems like there's a consensus from most Punisher fans that that's still kind of the best Punisher thing. I think, or at least it's way up there. Um,
Yeah,
I like Jason Aaron's run a lot, but then a lot of that's not really about the Punisher.
yeah, and I still haven't read that Punisher Max, but I know that like that we bring in a bunch of villains like Kingpin and Bullseye and stuff. I also really like Welcome Back Frank, which is his
Yeah.
Punisher story before Max, which he adapted into the Punisher game with Thomas Jane, and it's
Oh, I
really
didn't
fun.
realize that.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. It doesn't allow you to kick a woman with no limbs into a burning building or punch a polar bear, but it is still a great game.
We can't have everything.
Exactly, exactly. You do get to fight Jigsaw in an Iron Man costume, though, and for a video game, like, what more could you ask for?
So I might have surprised people with a couple of my picks already. We're going to start getting into the obvious obligatory stuff now. Right, I should say obligatory, but just the big, my favorite stuff that people will expect. My number six is Ben Edlund's original Tick run. Of course, I got to throw that in there. And this is not a first print thing. I have a few different versions of number one. I still don't have a first print thing. I'm going to try to do that in the next year or two. Not the most difficult thing to get your hands on, shockingly. Yeah, like you'd think there wouldn't have been enough copies, and that would be a real high end book. It's nice that a lot of people don't care about the tick still, but
It's like
that's
at the exact right level, right? Where, like,
mhm.
not enough people care about it for it to be, like, you know, too much or, like, too hard to get things, but also people care about it enough that you can get it.
Yes, exactly. Now, it's a nice
It's like
sweet
at that
spot.
exact right middle, yeah.
But in a high enough grade, it's about $100 book. So I'll get that
Okay.
not too long from now. It's not terrible. But anyway, so I only bring that up to say I just grabbed a copy of this that I had at the ready, and so the background here is not the way it was originally published. This is this like weird pink background. It's on black originally, but this was a later cover, or I say cover, a later printing. This is 1F, so I don't know how many printings we're in, but this added 4 pages. And anyway, I've gone back and reread the first issue of this like probably 15 times. The rest of the series I've read through at least a couple of times. This is Night of a Million Zillion Ninjas. It gives us Chairface. It gives us Thrakkerzog. It gives us Barry the Tick, Barry Hubris. Just on and on. A lot of the terror, a lot of the big iconic, or at least iconic for the Tick characters and stories come from Edlund's original run, and I there's other runs, or just I can't even say runs. There's Tick is mostly a mini series after this, and there are a few other things people know about that come from some other books and come from some side books, but a lot of the stuff that comes, but a lot of the side books that matter when the Tick is being published are also Ben Edlund things. And so he's giving us Man Eating Cow and uh, Paul the Samurai and Chainsaw Vigilante, which unfortunately has never made it to a TV show for obvious reasons. But you know what? The Amazon show could absolutely have done Chainsaw Vigilante, and I think it's really unfortunate that that didn't happen. I do feel like what's his name? Overkill has maybe a little bit of Chainsaw Vigilante in him, but it's still a pretty different character. I digress. I start as a Tick fan from the Fox cartoon show, of course, and didn't get to read any Tick because it was not easy to get your hands on back at that time until I was in college. And wasn't sure I would even like it. Like the comics are a great deal weirder and a little bit more adult than the cartoon show. And when I finally read it, I was struck by just how well drawn it is. Edlund is a very funny writer, but he's a kick-ass artist, and he apes Miller really well, but he's a little showier than a Frank Miller, and a lot of really great like shadow and thick line work, the kind of pencil-y that I get really excited about, where it's pretty detailed, and again the lines are real thick, but it's very but like it, you still see all the pencil lines. And he's just really good in black and white, and like that stuff has subsequently been colored. It looks fine in color. It wasn't meant to be colored. You want to read the Tick in black and white, at least first time around. The unfortunate thing, and I think the first issue of the Tick is like a perfect comic book, just like through a perfect comedy comic, especially. Like if you know what's going on in the '80s in comics, it's so clever and so funny and so witty, and the frustrating thing about Edlund's run is that he never finished it. And I'll never understand why. It had one issue to go. He did 12 ends on a cliffhanger, 13 was supposed to wrap everything up. He never did 13. He did 3 TV shows, and he never went back and drew his last issue. And I'll never understand that. And I feel like the whole thing for him is kind of a joke, where it's like, I could finish that for the fans, but I'm never going to. And like there's a little bit of a rebellious streak in Ben Edlund. If you ever listen to interviews with him, he was so counterculture, and at this point anyway, and you get the sense that there's like a little Andy Kaufman in him. I always wondered if he didn't do it on purpose.
Well, it's like Jim Lee with All Star, Batman and Robin.
Yeah, except like, is that intentional?
I think at this point, with how many things that Jim Lee picks on, he's like, "Oh no, I just can't get to All Star. I gotta do this right now."
They did publish a like almost what if 13th issue written and drawn by a different team, and so they made a big deal to go like, this isn't the real 13. This isn't exactly what Ben Edlund would have done, because it's not Ben Edlund doing it, but it's like guesswork and like what might that have been like. And I don't have that. I need to get my hands on that at some point. I've read it. It's
That
fine.
sounds like it would be a good idea for a
I don't love it,
miniseries.
but say it again.
I was gonna say that sounds like it would be a fun idea for a miniseries. Like, just get a bunch of different creative teams to be like, "This is our interpretation of a 13th issue."
Oh, I love
And it's
that.
like you have like 6 just issue 13.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think that'd be a really fun idea. Get on it, Ben Edlund. If you're listening to this right now, which you are, make that happen.
Anyway, sorry I took too long on that. I always love talking about the Tick.
That's okay. It's all good. My number 5 is a book I love, but I've also only read after like having lost people, or I shouldn't say people. The first time I read it, I had just lost my grandfather, and the second time I read it, my dog had just died.
Oh,
so like I have this weird case of like I've only read it when I'm in like emotional distress, which
this
is
like your
awkward.
funk comic.
Apparently, I hope that doesn't continue. I hope this doesn't just become the book I read when I'm in a funk.
You should just
but that-
intentionally. You should make yourself a note in your phone where you're like,
Yeah.
The next time you're in a really good mood, you have to read this book just to break that cycle.
Exactly. Because I mean, to be fair, it's a good funk breaker.
Is it
That
Guardians?
is, it's Abnett and Landing's
Yeah,
Guardians of the
Guardians.
Galaxy.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. So it's at least a good book to read when you're down
It
because
is.
it's really fun and clever and creative
And this is another
and
full run I've
amusing.
read because of Austin.
Yep, I also
And
requested that.
and before he was on the program.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's actually my first request is Guardians.
Yeah, and I
Um,
did I did that, and then wasn't there a follow-up that actually finished the run or finished the story? Am I
yes,
remembering
that
this right?
Thanos Imperative, which I've actually never read.
That's what it
That's the
is.
only part of it I've never read. I've read the miniseries before it, which is the absolute. Um, oh my god, why can't I think of what it's called? Um, Annihilation Conquest. There's like a
Yes.
mini connected to that, which is like the kind of first Guardians book, and it's really interesting because it's just Suicide Squad. It's like Star Lord gets arrested, and they're like, "You have to make amends. Like, we need you to do this mission, and here's like 5 other people we have in prison right now. They're going to be your team." And that's like the first iteration of Guardians, and it's also where the end of the first movie comes from because you have like a whole thing where Groot is set up and he's like grown all over this facility, and then they have to he like blows up, and then Rocket saves like a twig of him, and then it's like a little mini Groot in the first issue of the main run. He's just not a baby, but it's like very similar.
Yeah,
Uh,
interesting.
yeah, but yeah, I adore that run. I think it's fantastic. I love the movies and that run about equally, and it breaks my heart that that run gets cut off and didn't really go as long as it should have, and no one's ever recreated it. Like every run after that is just Diet the movie, and it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, that is sad. That's one of those places where I mean, very often when movies are popular and reinvent characters, we can't get away from them. But I think that's one of those places where there's such a specific voice with that movie that it's probably smarter to try to go back to what it was. It's impossible to not be influenced by it to some degree.
Yeah, it's just I think the hard thing is you can like really tell when it's not Gunn sometimes where you're like you're trying to do that voice but like you either don't fully get it or you just can't fully get there. Especially when we do things in other media with the music where it's like
Yeah,
this isn't right. Like I
that's why
love
I
the
didn't like the
game.
Telltale game.
Yeah, the no, and the TV show has it really bad.
Yep,
I really like
it's so
the
generic there.
yeah, and they put out a release for it, and I swear to God, it was like just made to confuse people because it's like the exact cover of the first movie soundtrack, but I think with like a purple hue, and the first song on it is "Hooked on a Feeling." Like it was made to confuse people to
Mm.
buy it. It's like they made their own Asylum album.
I don't like that.
But no, yeah, but like even the game, and the game is like a really good mix between Abnett and Lanning and the movies, and even with that, like the music's just kind of popular radio hits that we've all heard a million times, and it's like that's not, and yeah, I don't know, but anyways,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love Abnett and Lanning's run. It's fantastic. It's one of those runs too where it has 8 billion event tie-ins, but they're all done so well that like they all just play on their own and it doesn't matter. Uh, it's yeah, it's great.
Well, Abnett and Lanning have such range. Like that's a
Yeah,
team I like a lot. And if I could have squeezed in Resurrection Man in my top 10, I would have. I There's just not enough space for it.
no, and the stuff I've read of that's fantastic too.
But that'd probably be somewhere between 21 and 30. But it'd be in my top 30.
Yeah, uh, no, absolutely.
And I
What
like the
is your
Guardians
number
one
five?
too. I've never gone back to it. I should.
Mm,
And
yeah,
I have a
that's
tragic
fair.
story about that run. Have I told you about this?
No.
I Years ago now, this would have been circa, I don't know, 2018 maybe. My dad and I had booths in a flea market, and I had a big comic flea market booth. I had as many comics in that booth as I had in my personal collection. So I had like 8, 9, 10,000 comics in this booth. And lots of other superhero stuff. It was a superhero themed booth, and I was getting into a lot of comic collections, and I was keeping stuff, and I was selling stuff, and I hadn't read that run yet, and I liked Guardians well enough, but wasn't collecting it, and that was a run that's you know, decently valuable, especially that first issue. And so I made a bundle of it. I actually got the entire run in a collection, the first printings. And so that at that time, this is pre-COVID, was like a $150, $200 run. And a lot of that, again, is that first issue. And somebody stole it out of the
Oh,
booth. That hurts to this day. I wish I
yeah.
just kept it. Somebody stole it. I had to put it in a
that's
case
rough.
after that.
Yeah. Ugh. That's terrible.
Yeah. And so then you had me review it like 2 years after that. No, you know what? It might have been around that same time, actually, because I think I was in the
I was gonna say,
house when I reviewed that.
yeah, that would have been like 2018, 2019.
Right around that time. But yeah, wasn't I
Yeah,
in the old basement?
I think so. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. No, you must have been because I did the Michelini Iron Man after that, and I think you guys are in that old basement there. So
Okay.
definitely. See, this run is just associated with tragedy, and it's unfortunate because it's great.
So I went back and forth a little bit on my number 5 because there were 2 different runs of this property that easily could have been in my top 10, and I wasn't going to include them both because there's just so much to do.
Yeah.
So the other run would probably be somewhere in my 20, or again between the 21 and 30. But not no, it would be in my top 20, I think. But I didn't know how to put Waltz over Eastman and Laird, so I went with Eastman and Laird Ninja Turtles. How do you not for iconic characterizations and the big classic stories that then the movie and Waltz, etc., are aping later on. I love the Waltz run for a lot of the new characters it introduces and stuff. There's a whole mythology there that kind of made me a bigger Turtles fan that I have ever been. But this is the iconic stuff, and I I'm picking this for that first issue as much as anything, which I don't have even a later printing of. And I've got these in trade, I think. But at some point I need to find like a good facsimile edition or something. You can't get anything earlier than I think a third printing of Ninja Turtles #1, because the first printing was they did like in their apartment, and there were like 500 of them or something, and it's that's impossible to get, and is obscenely valuable. And then even the second printing is kind of like that. So I think third, I forget what that goes for. That's a few $100s. It's someday I'd like to do that. I think a lot of people have fourth printings, but I think that third printing is buyable. I haven't looked into this in a while, so I could be off by one. But anyway, so I'm showing a number 5 because that's one I happen to have. I don't own most of this run, but I did have that one, and I've reviewed all of this before, so I won't talk about it too long. But I just like some of the most original, striking artwork in anything. It unlike the Tick is it's like the Tick in that it's parody stuff, but it's like only funny in the initial premise of it. It takes itself completely seriously. And that's the thing I've always really appreciated about it. And it's such a fascinating run because it breaks all the rules and it jumps around everywhere. And a lot of the most important things happen in micro series, not even in the actual series, but you have to consider part of the run. And they end up dealing with aliens by the third issue. It's so weird. Like, you look at any other version of Ninja Turtles, we don't get to Triceratons until, like, whatever the equivalent of, like, a season 3 would be. We do it in the third issue in this. And
See, it's only in the thirds. Third season, third issue.
you've got, like, Renee the Time Traveler, like, weirdly early. But anyway, and then Turtles just get so bizarre in ways that stick with you. Like later on, when you get the weird like Shredder clones and all of that. This is some
You
freaking
revive
weird.
the worms.
Yeah, some freaking weird things happen in Ninja Turtles. But yeah, I love how punk rock that book is, where it'll do anything, and it's
and that's
it's
very
wonderful.
much like the ultimate success story for indie comics and just that kind of counterculture comic. Like that is what everybody wants to be, is Eastman and Laird's Ninja Turtles.
And hey, Edlund got closer than a lot of people. He got 3 whole TV shows, okay?
He's had an adaptation in every decade, starting with the TV show.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
Like, not a lot of people can say that.
He's got to hurry though. Like we're moving through the 2020s pretty quick.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's got to get on that.
Well, and when his show on Amazon got canceled, he was like, "We're gonna start over at some point with somebody else, and it won't be the same show again." And I'm like, "Oh my god, we're gonna have a 4th Dig show." Although he talked about it like it might still be in continuity with that. So if that ever happens, we'll see what happens. But he's kind of
it's probably long enough that it probably won't. Yeah,
that's what I think. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it'll be a movie next. But that'll be the next adaptation.
Nicholas Bodo, would you say the stuff with IDW Turtles is kind of like the Spider Totem but handled better? Yeah, you know what? I've never really made that connection. Kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of similar.
It's yeah, because I mean, there's a lot more of a mystical quality to it, but Turtles always had some amount of mysticism. I mean, that's the difference, is that Spider-Man was a lot more down to earth before it wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
But the whole kind of like Turtleverse idea has also, to some degree, always kind of been there in Ninja Turtles. Or not always, but for a lot longer before you got to the Spider Totem thing.
Yeah, I mean, Splinter in that first movie does he becomes a Force ghost.
That's true.
Number 4.
Yeah.
My number 4 is Frank Miller's Daredevil. Again, another one of those. It's kind of obligatory, but it's Frank Miller's Daredevil.
What is there to say?
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. This is both his main run and Born Again.
Look, my 5 and 6 only exist because of this run. Like, these are both parodies of what Austin is talking about.
It's true. And I'll just throw out with it because I've read a bit into it. I need to get back to it. And I was trying to more so not have characters repeat. And like I said, I haven't read enough of it, but I will also throw out Ann Nocenti's Daredevil run, also fantastic and to the same level of quality. So I'll just name drop that in there as well. But yeah, Frank Miller's Daredevil is just all around amazing. I love that it's both a book that finally makes Kingpin scary, as well as it's got Turk becomes Stiltman. It's got everything you could ever want. It's both super dark and incredibly silly at the same time. There's an issue, I think it's also with Turk, where Daredevil's like, "Oh, I need to talk to him," and he's driving, and he kicks him in the face through the windshield while he's driving, and I'm like, that would murder a man. It's wonderful. Just. Yeah, again, like you said, what can you say? It's Frank Miller's Daredevil. It's one of the most important comics ever made.
And I will still never understand. And I mean, it's a good thing for collectors that really want it, but I'll never understand why the big key is in that run do not command big dollar values.
Hmm. Yeah, it's so weird.
You'd think they would. Like Death of Elektra, not an expensive book. You can get that for $30 still or less.
Mhm.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy. What are we doing? I mean, I guess it's nice that it's like accessible, but
Yeah.
like that is strange.
It's also always in trade. Like it's not like that's out of print or anything.
No, like that's one of the easiest books to get, and some of Frank Miller's stuff isn't. Like his
Yeah.
Electra stuff's not.
And
That
there are
stuff's not been in print in a long
and there are
time.
Frank Miller single issues. This goes without saying that do command larger dollar values. So just
Yeah.
it seems very arbitrary to me. But Daredevil in general as a character is cheap, uh, relatively. Like you go back to the earliest '60s stuff, and that is the easiest character and property, one of anyway, the easiest characters and property to buy from that period for Marvel. I like I own some really early issues of Daredevil. I was gonna say, do I have? Yeah, I have a number two. Like
Yeah.
relatively not as hard to get. Like there are no other number ones from that period that I could begin to get my hands on in even a low grade that wouldn't be like thousands of dollars. A
Mm.
Daredevil one in like a mid grade, it's like maybe a couple grand. I mean, it's like it's not crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so strange. I guess Daredevil is in a weird place where it's super important to comic history, but like not as big outside of comics. Maybe is like part of it. Like obviously he had a TV show, but
And
that's
yet,
been in the
it has a
last
TV
like
show that came
10
back.
years. Yeah. So I don't know, like he might just be like right on that level of being big but not giant like a lot of the other Marvel characters like Spider-Man
It's such a
or Hulk or
conundrum.
something. Yeah, it's very weird.
But again, it is in a different way in that kind of tick sweet spot for me, where like you can get it, and like not so many people care that you can't get it.
They just printed way too many Frank Miller comics, so it's just they just had too many.
Yeah, maybe so. I don't know. But it's
Yeah.
not always about rarity because there are books that there are plenty of that there's so much of a demand for. They're still really high. Like there are
Mhm.
plenty of Batman Adventures 12s. Just take my word for it. That's not a hard book to get. But
Yeah.
people still are paying $400, $500, $600 for that book.
Yeah. So weird.
Well, Austin, my number four. That's where we're at. Yeah,
Yep.
is like your number four, a book that both gets very dramatic and serious and also insanely silly. These are two runs that have that massively in common, and I never thought to compare them that way. But I love that point you made. It's Walt Simonson's Thor. It has exactly that.
Yeah. My number 3 does as well when I get there, but yeah, and I've not read all of Simonson's Thor, but what I have read is amazing.
It's astounding that I've got a Thor book at number four on my list because, and they rhyme.
4 for Thor.
I because I've
He's
never
got
been
4 movies.
that's true. I've never been a big fan. Oh yeah, more Thor for four or whatever you always used to say.
Oh, Thor 4 more War for Thor and Gore. Yeah.
That's why in gore. That's what it was. Got to get the gore in there. Um, I've never been the biggest fan of Thor and just that mythology in the in Marvel universe. I was completely blown away by this run, and like as wordy and in some places a little bit of a slog as it can be to get through just certain patches of it. It's undeniably brilliant, and I've read the whole thing years ago. Dan and I reviewed it together. We had a viewer that sent me the gigantic omnibus of this in the mails, this huge hardcover, this really heavy tome, and I had to read it and ship it back to him. And it was so cool of him to do that. Subsequently, I have kept every copy of an issue of this run that I found when I bought collections out. And so I own maybe a good half of it at this point. I haven't actively gap filled this. It's been a while since I bought collections, but I used to buy collections all the time. And when I would find this, I would hang on to it just because I loved that run. Um, the Balder arc is wonderful. Surtur is a thing that I didn't know I was gonna love, that I was kind of primed for because of Doomsday. Like Doomsday goes back to Surtur real hard with the uh like big buried monster character that's in the background. It's like kind of booming, and you see, the Krakathoum, like you're seeing uh sound effects words like, oh man, he's coming, at some point he's going to show up, and then finally he's here, like with Doomsday. And so I loved experiencing that again. Beta Ray Bill is just awesome, and we don't do enough with that character. I wish we would bring him back. And
Yeah, I really want to
it's
read.
cool you got to play as him in that video game we played.
Yeah, I actually played it
Just
with
put
my
up.
youngest brother over Easter and played him for a level, and my youngest brother was like, "Who the hell's that guy?"
This
uh,
horseman.
exactly. But no, I really want to read. Daniel Warren Johnson did a Better A Bill book. I really want to read that because everything I've seen from it looks really cool.
RJ Gazilla, I'm gonna go back to an earlier point real quick. Death of Elektra would probably be worth more if she didn't keep coming back to life every 5 minutes. I mean, that's funny, but that cover is so famous. And
What's the death of Phoenix, like Jean Grey? What does that go for? Because she also keeps coming back.
that's true. Now I would have to look that up. But I think that stuff is a lot more valuable than Daredevil. The
No, and
big
X
the
Men's
big
like one of the
keys
big Marvel books
in
too.
X Men.
So yeah.
Yeah. But this is one of the only runs this long that I've actually read all of, and just because we were making videos about it, so I actually got through it. Have you ever read like a full 8, 10, 12 year run like that?
Uh, yeah. No, there's been stuff like that I've read. Yeah. My next one, I don't think it's quite that long, but like it is very long.
Okay, go ahead.
It's John Ostrander's Suicide Squad.
Okay, I thought that might be your number one or your number two.
No, it's up there. It's definitely up there. And that's also a book that uh, has, you'll get one storyline where like a character has to deal with like being mind controlled by poison ivy, and we do kind of like a rape metaphor with that. And then you'll have another story that is Captain Boomerang throwing pies at people, and we got to figure out who's been throwing the pies around the prison. It's wonderful. There's so much great stuff in that. I feel like Amanda Waller has never quite been the same as she is in that book, where we tend to go like fully evil with her, and like I'm fine with that as a take, but it's not really that in his original run, where like she is more well-meaning, and that gets like a definitive ending where we could have just never had her again, and or that premise, and it's straight up has her being like, I realized that like this is a wrong thing, and like
Oh
it's fully
wow.
shut down. Yeah, like it has like a complete definitive ending.
Yeah, I prefer
And
a somewhat more sympathetic Amanda Waller.
yeah, no, I really like that in that run, and obviously that run gives us Oracle, and everything
Yep.
they do with her is great. Um, Also, Amanda Waller's original backstory is fascinating because she was like a house mom, and her daughter gets killed by Candyman, and it's straight up just she's killed by Candyman, and it's in the
What?
same place where the Candyman movie takes place. Like it's so bizarre, and
I didn't know that. That's weird.
and it's before the movie. I don't think before the story it's based off of though, so it's very weird.
Oh, that's
And
strange.
we kind of imply that she like sleeps her way into a government position. Like yeah, like it's very very different, and that's also a great book for how to use politics in your comics, where there's kind of like a running thing where it's like Suicide Squad is such a bizarre and like out there idea that could like only happen under Reagan. And then there is a specific point in the run where he's no longer president and Bush Senior becomes president, and because he was like the head of with the CIA, right?
I think so.
He
Yeah.
like has like a full crackdown on all of the different like branches of that, and uh, it becomes very hard for Amanda Waller to do things. That's also where we do the big event, um, where we bring in like all of those things, like Captain Adam's part of that, Peacemaker's part of that, and yeah, all of that's really cool. Just all in all, one of my favorite runs.
I like what little I've read of that.
Yeah, and I got you the Killing Joke sequel, 2 issues 1 year.
Yeah, I was gonna say thanks to Austin for sending me those because I've got For Spirits of Oracle now and that famous um cover with her in the chair and the gun. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. That might not be her first appearance. I can't remember. It might
It's her.
be. But...
I think it's her first full. It's. I think that is the issue that reveals that's who is Oracle.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember. It's been too long. I know that storyline acts as a sequel to Killing Joke, but
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if that was her first appearance. She is in that book before that, but like you said, like you don't see her. Like it's just, oh, somebody hacked into our systems and is like giving us information, and it's really cool because I didn't realize that's where she started. And they're like, oh, somebody called Oracle, and the person who says it has a Batgirl plushie like on her computer.
Yep.
And I was like, that's so cool.
And
like
that's an iconic Oracle thing that we take for a long time. Like she's got a
Oh, yeah.
plushie on her desk in Birds of Prey a lot.
Oh, okay.
I have a poster of a Birds of Prey cover that has that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I didn't realize that was a thing that like stuck. But I think it's with Flo, the character that takes Amanda Waller out in the Gun movie. I think she's the one that has it because they have a relationship, okay. And then Flo dies, and it's like a really tragic thing for Barbara. And then that's when Barbara comes in and is the woman in the chair for the team.
Yeah, that's really
cool. Yeah, it's super cool. And it's also just interesting getting a Barbara Gordon that's on the outs with Batman, where there's like a whole thing where Batman's like, like, how dare you do this? Like, how dare you work with Amanda Waller? And she's like, you and Robin like knew who I was for years, and like still held your own identity. Like, you've never exactly been a nice person to me. Like, why should I, feel some level of like being beheld to you? And it's very different, to how we would do that now.
Real quick before I get to my number 3,
Yeah,
we've got a couple super chats we never hit. So Dan Schneider put in a $2 super chat. Says people like Chuck Dixon's run. Garth Ennis liked it. Was this back when we were talking about Punisher?
Yeah. Dixon's run's really good for Punisher. I like a lot of just like older Punisher too, where you could almost adapt that in like a James Bond kind of action movie, where like it doesn't even have to be R-rated. But a lot of that stuff's really fun.
I had a bunch of Punisher War Journal when I was a kid, but I sold it. I
think that's the one Dixon worked on, but don't quote me on that because it's going off of like 15-year-old information.
And the Jukebox Lover, $2 super chat, says, I don't get why Netflix couldn't just adapt Max. Yeah, like, I mean, a lot of people have said that.
They're just afraid of the Punisher.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Or at least look closer at that material.
Mm-hmm.
It would have helped.
Yeah,
less boring.
Yeah, it would be nice if he didn't, become the Punisher in like episode 11 out of 13.
Yeah, I didn't hate that show, but it was about 5 episodes longer than it needed to be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I don't understand why the only thing they do with him is just he has to come out of retirement. The trailer just dropped for his special, and it's also that.
I'm telling you, I'm worried that special is gonna set him up where he just has a no kill rule now, just so that he can be in a Spider-Man movie, and they don't have to worry about him killing people in the Spider-Man movie.
Have you seen the trailer?
You can't write it off. I didn't know there was a trailer.
Yeah, it came out today. I think I was just busy and I didn't send it to you, but
Yeah, Austin's
uh,
my only source of information. No, I'm kidding.
exactly. But no, it's like a 2-minute trailer for an hour-long special, and I feel like it goes through the entire hour. And I'm very worried that he's going to put on the suit in like the last shot.
That's totally what's
I
gonna
mean,
happen. They're gonna do
it's
that
totally what's going
again,
to happen. Yeah, I don't know. It
and
looks
he's
kind
gonna
of
have a no
lame.
kill rule.
We're doing like PTSD stuff from him being in the war in the trailer, and I don't know how I feel about that. And it does at least look like he kills some people, and that's nice. But I don't know.
Could we have some punishing in our Punisher special?
I mean, you can genuinely say that about the Netflix show.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Hopefully, it's good.
My number three, I just put it a notch above you, Austin, is Frank Miller's Daredevil.
There you go. Beautiful.
So that's our only cross so far, I think.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, there was like I said, I was like I could see it going either way. Like I feel like there's a couple things that we could share, maybe not.
How do you not? I've never reviewed a lot of that series. I read all of it like 20 years ago, or like 17, 18 years ago. I
And he
got
doesn't have a long run.
I got my hands on. No, it's like, I don't know, is it 25, 30 issues?
I was gonna say in the 20s, but
Okay.
it might be closer to 30. And then obviously Born Again, but that's like what, 4, 6?
Yeah, and a little later, yeah.
Yeah, because I think Denny O'Neil has a really small run between them. Like they're not that far off, but it's a bit.
But
It's
yeah,
maybe like 15 issues.
I got my hands on the first printings when I was working at the mortuary back in the mid 2000s. And so I was reading through Frank Miller's Daredevil when I was working funerals.
That's a good place to be reading Daredevil. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And I just thought of this. I didn't think of this when I was putting this together. Out of my 10 books, I have Frank Miller's Daredevil and I have two parodies of Frank Miller's Daredevil.
Yeah, no, Frank Miller's Daredevil is a monolith over your list.
It really is. It's so insanely influential. What is your number 2? We're getting down to the wire here.
We are getting down to the wire. My number 2 is super self-indulgent. That's fine. It's Steve Gerber's Man Thing.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, of course. uh, but it's wonderful. I love how moody that is. It's got some of my favorite artwork for that kind of like a horror comic. Steve Gerber is like kind of a fascinating writer in that he can do things that are incredibly like on the nose and just kind of work. And I'm like, I feel like in other places this would like I'd be like this is way too much and like it would annoy me, but I don't know, he just it works in his stuff. I don't know how to explain it, but like there's a whole thing where there's a businessman that like comes in and he's gonna like pave over the swamp, and his name is literally F.A. Schist, fascist, and like that's so just on the nose, but it works.
Just
I
in
don't know.
in
It's
that kind of context, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Well, also keep in mind that those are so pulp horror throwback that that's the kind of stuff you'd get with EC.
100%, 100%. Yeah, and that's an example of when it gets a little bit more serialized, but also that book is so like one and done through most of it, and I really like those stories, and I also really like when it gets a little bit bigger. My only like faults with it is I think there's a couple times, like maybe like 2 or 3 issues where it becomes more of a superhero thing, and I just don't think it really fits. But outside of that, like he's got a very good command of what that book is, and it's fantastic all around. And I actually at one point thought about making like a YouTube documentary on Steve Gerber because he's maybe my favorite writer in comics. Like I really love Gerber, but I never pulled the trigger on it.
Well, I tell you what, you make yours on Gerber, and I'll make mine on Edlund.
Sounds good. I have like way more work ahead of me if we're just doing comic stuff.
What do you mean?
Well, just because Ben Edlund's had his hands in so many different things. Like, that was all I mean. Like, if we're only doing it on comic stuff, like, I would have so much more to read.
Oh yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Well, yeah, because when
Uh,
I say Edlund, I'm actually kind of meaning just the history of the Tick. Like, it wouldn't really be an Edlund documentary. Like, obviously, it
yeah,
would
no,
be
of
somewhat
course.
about him, but it'd be about just the history of what's happened with that character. But I've been trying to make, or I've been meaning to make that for like 10 years. So I'm in the same boat you are with Gerber. Is all I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. I'll do the Gerber one. You do the Ben Edlund one, and we'll make our own little documentaries on them.
Yeah, it'll be the weirdest two-part series anybody's ever made.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
they don't
exactly.
really go together. How long was that run?
It's pretty long
Really?
because it goes, yeah, just because it goes in Adventures into Fear for maybe like 15 issues, something like that. And then I think when it goes into its own book, it's 20 something. So like it goes on for quite a bit. It's also really funny because the Adventures into Fear, the last issue there, is part one, and then issue one of his is part two. So like it's an awkward first issue. If you were just be like, oh, I'll try reading this Man Thing book. What the hell's going on? But that storyline is where Howard the Duck is first introduced, and oh, that's really fun. And he's also got like a Conan thing, and like Daniverse just said, he also later creates Thundar the Barbarian. Gerber's kind of got like a thing where there's like certain ideas he kind of comes back to quite a bit, like uh, like I just said, he did like another barbarian thing. He's also done a couple duck things, like he did that Destroyer Duck book with Kirby after he left Marvel, and like that's very clearly just a more personal book for him as Howard the Duck, which I've still not read. I need to get on that because I do love me some Howard the Duck, and I love Steve Gerber, so I need to jump on that.
If you did, that would probably have also shown up on this list, or
Exactly.
it'd be in your, 11 to 20. Dan Schneider, I know you said you've been meaning to correct the Tick's wiki, which is out of date. I forgot all about that. Yeah, years ago I was kicking around doing that too, because there is a Tick wiki and nobody's updated it since like the first season of the Amazon show, and like barely anything from that was in there. Like nobody keeps up with that. I'm clearly the guy to do it, and I just have not taken the time to do it. But if it was possible, because I don't know how much, if you're the only person messing with it, I don't know how much license you'd have. I want to rename it to Tickopedia because it's right there.
Yeah, that'd be wonderful. And the nice thing is that if you're the only one that's edited it, you won't get constant emails like I do. I made a fandom account once to edit the Dobby wiki,
Oh my
and
god, what did you do?
I
What did
get
you
like
do to it?
daily emails where it's like it has just been edited. Like look at the corrections, and then you click on it, and it's like they added an extra word, and I'm like, oh my god, stop emailing me about this stupid Dobby wiki. I gave Dobby a last name, and I they did not like that I did that.
Oh my
I
god,
also can't
dude!
say on
You
the
don't
on
f with the Potter
Geekvolution.
fans, okay? You don't. You should know better. You don't
No,
do
they
that.
took it very personally, and, so
What did
I
you
because
call it? What did you call him? What was his last name?
it's a word I don't know if I should say on
Oh,
Geekvolution,
okay.
but I'll just say it starts with a B, has two K's in it. Figure it out from there.
I was
But
imagining. See, I didn't think you went that way, but of course you did. This is you we're talking about. I was imagining like Sockington or something.
oh no. I mean it works. The words flow together well. Um, but no, I changed it, and then they switched it back. So I went back and changed it again, and then got like personally messaged. It was like, "Do not do this." And then I went back, changed it again, and then under it wrote, no. This is real. J.K. Rowling confirmed it on Twitter."
That is some
So
hardcore trolling there, Austin.
it's true that is his last name. She did confirm it. Anyways,
Okay, my number 2, I could have been my number 1, but some of this is just a matter of like how early you're influenced by things and how much it becomes a part of you. Some of it is about volume, I guess. And some of it is because it will be fun to reveal this for 2, and then people wonder what my number 1 is. But my number 2 is, of course, Watchmen.
yeah, Watchmen probably should have made my list.
I really thought it would. I figured it would be there.
It probably should have been. I don't know.
Did you just forget
It's an honorable
about it?
mention.
Did you forget
No,
about
I didn't.
Watchmen?
I didn't forget it. I didn't forget about it. I just wasn't. I don't know.
How
It's
many
amazing.
hours did we spend earlier? Was it last year? Earlier this year on Watchmen?
Oh God, I think it was last year.
We did
a lot of hours.
We did a couple big projects on Watchmen last year.
I mean, we also watched the Ultimate Cut, which itself is like 16 hours, let alone doing the book.
And we finally reviewed the book. 17 years on the channel, I'd never actually talked about the comics.
Yep.
So, like, Watchmen needs no introduction. We've spent so much time talking about that. I don't need to get hip deep into that right now. And it's like 1:30 in the morning here, and my brain is not ready to talk about Watchmen. But
it's got a squid in it.
That's true. That was such a major formative book for me in college, and I feel like I read it at just the right age.
Yeah.
A lot of high concept, complex philosophical ideas that I'd never really noodled the way Moore made me noodle it. Some of the greatest world building in comics, just a world I loved inhabiting and living in. One of the best examples of mixed media in comics, with all of the extra prose and newspaper clippings and all the stuff that immerses you into the world. Gibbons is great. I don't feel like Gibbons gets talked about enough with Watchmen. Like how much of the success of that is about that artwork as much as it is about the writing. And it's really the only thing in my top 10 that I go back to as often as I do. Like, I love all this stuff. Watchmen I read every couple of years.
Yeah, no, it's one that I probably should have like gone back to more than I have. But I've read it a couple times, and it's
you guys
always
totally
fantastic.
forgot Watchmen. He just didn't even think about it. Totally forgot about it.
No. I think part of it is also just as I've gotten older, I prefer Dark Knight Returns to Watchmen, and
that's
I think that's part of it. Yeah. But they're both wonderful. Like
do we only have to compare them because they came out in '85? Like,
well, everybody
85,
compares
86.
them. It's the Beatles and the Rolling Stones.
No, that's true. It's the two comics that adults over the age of 30 read in the 80s.
Exactly.
That's not true. There were a few other things, but those were the big ones.
No, 100%.
A lot of the other ones were also written by either Moore or Frank Miller. For the record.
Dan Schneider says that we did 4 hours on Watchmen. I should know. I watched it twice. Did you watch us review Watchmen for 4 hours twice? That's crazy.
He just had a lot of lawn.
I respect it. You are an ultimate human, sir. If you were able to sit through us ramble about Watchmen for 4 hours more than once.
We owe that guy something we're never going to deliver on.
Oh, and Gerhard just said that Daredevil Born Again Season 2 has been Diet Watchmen. That's unfortunate.
Ooh, goodness.
I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, I'm not watching it. I'll say that.
No. It makes me sad because they brought back Jessica Jones, and I love Jessica Jones, but I'm like, I don't want to see what they're gonna do with her, though.
Yeah, I don't want to see that under those writers. Like, I'm sorry, I know there's folks that are really enjoying that, but I got 4 episodes in with the first season, and I was like, I'm done. I can't do it.
Yeah, go back to us doing the review on the first couple episodes because I am like steaming in that review.
Yeah, and I had that kind of Star Trek Discovery thing where I was like, well, I could see this going either way, and then I kept going. I was
Yeah.
like, nah, I'm done.
No,
It was
I
very
think I
much like
got off
that.
that review and I was like, I feel like an asshole. Like I feel like I was like rude, mad. But
Nah,
anyways,
you were right about it, in my opinion. Well, let's see what Austin's number one is going to be. The stuff that I would have pegged, he's already said. So like, he's already gone Guardians. He's already gone Man Thing. One of the only things we've not heard yet, just property wise, but I don't know what the book would be because I don't know this property well enough, is Hellboy. But I don't know that this is going to be a Hellboy.
my number one is Hellboy.
Hey, I got it.
I just counted it all together because it kind of just is one
Oh,
big
okay. So
Mignola
you
thing.
didn't
So
pick
like,
a miniseries.
no, I just picked like it's all one continuing Mignola story. So I didn't think to break it up. But no, Hellboy is probably my favorite thing in comics. I love Hellboy, and there's like a great series of kind of minis like what you were just saying, that, like tell like a more serialized story throughout it, but there's also a million short stories and little things outside of it. Like there's just so much Hellboy and it's all fantastic and it's all over like decades, and it's like the perfect thing where I'm like, I'm in a Hellboy mood. I'm gonna go read a couple, short stories, or I'm in a really big Hellboy mood. I'm gonna read through like a ton of like the bigger arcs. So it's
That
kind of just
seems
perfect.
really unique in comics to me, where I don't know that there's another property like that that I one guy is always writing it. He keeps control of it. He keeps command of it. He only comes in it periodically. It's like every year or two you'll get and it's kind of sporadic. You'll get a miniseries, and they all uh, like keep each other in mind, but it's not like one big story that's being told either. And the only other things I can think of that are kind of like that are monthlies that one guy has stuck with forever, like your Stan Sakai's and your Todd McFarlane's, and Eric Larson, and guys like that. I don't know if there's another property like that
Yeah,
that's all miniseries. Like it's, I guess
yeah.
Sin City's kind of like that, but a lot broader, and it stops at some point. Like Hellboy, still you'll get some every now and again.
And there's like so many just other creators he's let in to just do things just in the world of Hellboy
Yeah,
too.
that's true. But he's always
So it's
kept the reins on it.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's something he talks about in that Mignola documentary, where he's like, "I'm a bit of a control freak. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very, like holding the reins on that stuff."
Well, and
It,
so's McFarlane, but the difference between them is he'll actually let other people like play in the sandbox.
that and Mignola reads.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I'm not talking about
Uh,
the quality of the writing. I'm just saying like how much of control freaks they are. Like what one of them, it makes more
yeah,
sense to want to control it. I'm with you on that.
no, for sure. No, it's such a unique world, and Mignola's also just one of my favorite artists. Like, he's got such a unique style in that it looks like nobody else, but I can also see some of his influences. Like, it took me a long time to realize like there's so much Kirby in Mignola's artwork, and it's fascinating in that I can see exactly who he's looking at, but it's so just of its own. And that's maybe like one of the only things that I'm kind of sad about with his Hellboy is that he doesn't draw all of it. Like there is stuff that other artists have done that he's written, and it's still all great. But like I also really love his artworks. Like there is part of that that's like, oh, it's a little missing.
It is so
Um,
distinct. Nobody can
it's
come
so
in and
distinct.
perfectly ape it. And
Yeah.
again,
Uh,
McFarlane kind of had that with Spawn, where you have Coppola come in and he's sort of doing McFarlane, but it's its own thing. But he does that for so long that it becomes its own style, and you come to like it maybe as well as McFarlane, even though it's not exactly the same thing. And nobody would have the time to do that with Mignola.
mhm. Yeah, absolutely. Um, No, like the Crooked Man, the one that they adapted into that last movie, like that's a great story. There is still that part of me that's like, I wish Mignola drew it, but
Yeah.
it is great. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's Hellboy. I remember as a kid, because I saw the movies. I saw two, and then I saw one, and I was like, I'm gonna get into Hellboy. So I read The Conqueror Worm, and I had no idea what was happening because it's like volume 5, like it's like kind of far into it, and like it's very out there, and like had no context for anything, and I was like, this book sucks. I don't know what's happening, and then eventually went back and just fell in love with it. Oh, and also John Byrne co-writes the first arc.
Oh, crazy! I
So
didn't know
Byrne
that.
sneaks in there. Yeah. That is one thing if you're going to start Hellboy, is that the voice is a little different in that first arc, Seed of Destruction, because it's Byrne's on there. I think basically Mignola just wasn't sure about writing and drawing, like right at the get-go. I think he was kind of worried about it, so he like brought in another writer. And so Hellboy's like a bit more wordy than he is after that.
I've never been the biggest Hellboy fan. I like what little I've looked at with that, but I've never been,
Yeah,
as you know, a big occult guy. So I haven't delved
yeah.
enough into that. But I love Mignola as an artist, and I've always wished he would have done more Batman because I think he's kind of the perfect Batman artist.
Yeah, and he did. I forget what it's called, but there is a Batman story that he draws that is like just a Hellboy story starting with Batman, like before that, like when he still worked
Yeah,
with DC, and it's really cool.
yeah, and he's done covers and stuff. But like I'll look at what little he's done with Batman, and I'm like, man, I wish he had a run. Like
Yeah,
just give me a year of Mignola on Batman. That would have been wonderful.
the story is also very bizarre, but the Rocket Raccoon mini did really good.
I didn't know about that.
It looks amazing. Yeah,
Or maybe you told me about that. Okay. I think you told me about that when it happened, but I didn't realize that that's who drew it. I think you told me there was a mini, but I didn't realize that's who it was.
it's really weird because there's like animal people and dumb people. I'll say it that way.
Oh.
And the animal people are there to entertain the dumb people and make toys for them. And Rocket Raccoon is their sheriff, and he like stops crime in their area. It's very strange.
Yes, Nicholas Bodo. He's Gotham by Gaslight.
Yes, that's true too. Which wasn't the Batman story I was thinking of, but I
No,
still
no,
need to read
I know what you're
Gotham by
talking about. I don't
Gaslight.
know what it's called, but yeah,
Yeah,
those might be the only two things.
I think so too. I know he did.
Doom that came to Gotham. Killer
Oh,
Cloud
that's another
strikes
one. That's also
strikes
not what I
back
was thinking
missions.
of,
Yeah, I
but
forgot about that. Okay,
he did
maybe
that
there's one
too.
more than we're thinking.
He also did that one event. I can't remember what it's called, but
Oh,
I think it's got like the new gods in it. Yeah, I don't know. It's 2 in the morning. I can't remember, but there is an event that he draws that looks really cool. And specifically, when you see him draw stuff like the Fourth World, you can like really see the Kirby influence in his art.
yeah, which thing I never think about with him.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'll get to my number one here in a second.
That's all good.
I'm gonna keep Austin up all night.
Well, I had to get up really early in the morning tomorrow,
Oh
and
no.
then for a work appointment, and then they were like, "Ah, can we just do it tonight instead? Snack and sleep in tomorrow,
Oh,
so we're
that's
good."
good. I was gonna feel
Yeah.
bad.
Oh no. Oh, Cosmic Odyssey. Thank you, Kyle Newberry.
Yeah, I was just checking my database real quick to see if I had any other Batman stuff by him.
Yeah. I just
But
remember. I think it's like Batman in a cemetery. But yeah, I really want to read that Cosmic Odyssey book because it looks really cool.
yeah, I've got some Mignola covers, but not a lot of interior stuff.
Oh, and I'll say too, like now that you say that, Hellboy's also interesting because it's been printed in different ways. So like I originally read it in those original trades, but now it's been retraded so that it's in more of a chronological order. So like there is kind of two ways to read that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Hmm. Yeah, and that new way also separates the short story stuff into just its own trades.
He did the cover for Dark Knight, Dark City, which is which is kind of a famous cover and has always stuck with me.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Okay, my number one is the way I figured out to get some of my favorite Batman stuff in this, because the big '90s events are so weird because they're. Austin and I were talking about this earlier today off camera. They're written by so many different people within so many books that they hardly work for this exercise because it's not a writer on a run. So you kind of have to pick one and then see if the whole run holds up. So the reason there's no Death of Superman on this list is because Jurgen's full run is, like I said, real kind of dodgy. So I went with, for my number one, Chuck Dixon's run in general. Just Dixon on Batman. He's got such a good track record. He's not as hit and miss as some of these other guys. And when I went through and looked at what I've got by him, and by the way, in my database, I own like 290 issues written by Chuck Dixon of various things. Just tons and tons of Dixon in my collection. And obviously loved him on a lot of other things, and I like Birds of Prey, but I've never read all of it, and that's why that's not here. And from what I've read, I don't know that would crack a top 10 or even a top 20. Like, I like that book. There's arcs I like better than others, but again, I've not read all of it. But anyway, I digress. I'm holding Vengeance of Bane because this is the kind of the big start of Nightfall, and is one of my favorite one-shots of all time, and I have reread this many, many times, and it's one of my favorite origins with anything. But then Dixon's there for Nightfall, he's there for Cataclysm, he's there for No Man's Land, like, he is one of the architects going all the way up. And the big difference between Batman and Superman in the 90s is Superman's got a lot of people don't like it anymore, but for my money, still an overall really great epic event story at the start. And then they don't know what to do with him after that, and it falls off real hard. And I like No Man's Land overall a little better than I like Nightfall, and that's happening around the same time as like Electric Superman. So that stuff stays great all the way through. What a workhorse Chuck Dixon was, and how amazing is it that he was able to hang on to the quality that he had just very consistently throughout a lot of books. Because I think people forget that, like, I mentioned Birds of Prey, but like during this period, he's also writing Robin. He's got like 50, 60 issues on that book. Just a crazy number of Batman adjacent things he's doing. And I'm not lumping them all in for this. I am saying specifically his Batman. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized, like, I think writing-wise, Dixon's Batman is, like, more or less overall my Batman.
Well, I think it helps to, like, for that era, that you basically had a showrunner. Where, like, Denny O'Neil is, like, the big umbrella that is kind of holding it all together.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that Superman really had that, like, kind of person there to do that. But
the closest thing was Jurgens, but I feel like the four of those writers were much more on the same playing field together.
Yeah,
really
when Denny O'Neil wasn't
at the top.
Yeah, because Denny O'Neil wasn't really writing it. Like, he was just like above them, being like, this is what you do. Like, I've heard Jack Dixon be like, I don't understand Two-Face. Like, he flips the coin, like, it comes up, good, so he doesn't do the kind that's stupid. Like, I would constantly write, well, why doesn't he just flip it again until he gets, like, the bad one, or, like, go against the coin? And Denny O'Neil would step in and be like, no, that's not how he works.
He's like, well, then explain it.
I'm like, no, that's not what you do. This is what you do. It's like I think that really helps in that period is like if they ever had ideas that would have led to a Superman Blue for Batman, Denny O'Neil was always there to be like, no,
Yeah,
we're not doing
that's
that.
nice. But yeah, I always thought Dixon was really versatile, and he also has that thing where he knows how to blend together the like goofy, silly comic stuff with the dramatic and the tragic. He had a really good handle on the overall psychology of Batman. Was really good at humanizing Batman, making him feel like a real person, uh, and just making Gotham feel like a real living, breathing place. He was really good at the street level crime stuff.
Yeah, definitely. No, and I've not read any of the side books outside of just when they link into those major stories.
I haven't
But
read
what I've read of
enough.
them is good.
I own a lot now. I bought a bunch of that Robin earlier in the year, and so
Yeah.
I'm gonna dive into that at some point. I've got maybe the first 25, 30 issues of Nightwing, and I forget who wrote that. That's not Dixon. I don't
Yeah, I'm not
think.
sure offhand.
I can find out.
Yeah.
Uh, and then something else that occurred to me about the big, uh, those big stories that were really formative for me in the 90s, the Nightfalls and the No Man's Land and all of that is I I got into that stuff through novelizations before I got to them through comics. So like in my head No Man's Land is much more of a novel than it is comics. And like I love the comics, but
Yeah.
it's a lot more about that prose novel. And I so I just bring that up to say that also makes it easier, like not being able to include them.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's our list, folks.
Yeah, we did it.
So yeah,
We only had the one crossover.
only because you forgot about Watchmen.
I didn't forget about Watchmen.
You clearly did. You're in absolute denial about it. I'm just kidding. Sorry, I want to see who wrote Nightwing here.
It was Alan Moore.
No, yes, of course.
I'm gonna.
Oh my God, it
not
was
wait.
Dixon. You guys, he was just what an animal. He was nuts. I don't know how he did all that. He was the guy. He wrote Robin and Nightwing and Birds of Prey. If there had been a Batgirl at that point, he would have done that too.
Well, he did do Batgirl year one, but that's
Yes,
later.
that is true.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Did you want to
know
do a
that-
couple? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, we'll totally do some runners up real fast before we end. I know we're both about to die here. I
I'm good. I'm good. I'm energized.
but did you know that there wasn't a Batgirl ongoing until Cassandra Cain?
Yes, I did know that. It's
It's
so
so
weird. There's so many things like that where it's like you wouldn't think that. Like, I think isn't Mike Grell's Green Arrow like his first ongoing too? Like he only
is.
was in was it Brave and the Bold, I think.
Yeah, but I
Um,
mean that's at least the 80s. Like you don't have a Batgirl ongoing until the early 2000s. Like No Man's Land has to introduce a second Batgirl before that character has a book, and it's not even Barbara Gordon. Like it's so weird.
yeah, when did Robin first get a book? Would that be like
That's early
the
90s. That's
yeah?
that's the miniseries. So you get Robin, and then you get Robin 2, and then you get Robin 3, and then he gets and then he gets a monthly after that finally. And that monthly goes for almost 200 issues.
Mhm. See, I think it's just because Robin comes so late that I'm like, that makes sense that Batgirl's like another 10 years after that.
I guess that's
That
true
tracks.
now that you say that. But okay, but you know what the difference is? Robin was at least on the Teen Titans. Like he's in a team book, and so it makes sense that they wouldn't think to spin him off. Batgirl, well, and I mean, like she had one shots and stuff.
She had a bullet in her spine.
No, that's what I was gonna say. Is if it was gonna happen, it would have had to be 70s or early 80s.
Yeah,
I guess there's that.
but
I
what
read
can you
something
do?
recently. Maybe it was that World's Finest issue I reviewed last week. That by Wade that did something with her as a librarian again. I read something recently that remembered she was a librarian, and I was like, that's nice.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Let's do some runners up. And like I said, I have a ton of stuff that I considered that I could mention, but I'll try to keep this kind of brief. Um, at the start of this, as I was listing stuff out, I wanted to go to some like non superhero stuff, Austin, and I just
Mhm.
couldn't work it in for like my own personal taste, the stuff that was like formative enough for me. So I had some non superhero that almost made it. Stuff like Why the Last Man and
Yeah, which I've never read.
Walking Dead, which I've never finished, but I've read the first, I don't know, 50, 60.
Yeah, I've read the first trade of that. Uh, I'd like to go through all of it.
Maybe at some point I'll finally review some of that. Do you want to go back and forth?
It's up to you. You can either run down them, and then I can run them down, or if you want to go back and forth, it's all good.
Uh,
All good. It's all gravy.
okay, I'll just mention a few other things real quick, and then you can do some. I I consider Jim Starlin Batman, because after some of the stuff that we've reviewed, I've come to really appreciate his run.
Yeah, yeah, I really like his run.
It's not a long run.
No, not too long at all. It's I mean, also I talked about this when we did some of his run, but like, for people who think Death in the Family is weird, which I was one of them, I think it works better in context.
It does. Yeah, it is weird to read by itself. Go read his whole run. And he was a master craftsman at single issue Batman stories.
Yep.
Jim Starlin has two of the best standalone issues in comics I've ever read in his Batman run.
But
The
when is the
issue
sniper one? What's the other one?
the issue right after the death of Robin. That's the issue you're talking about. And then
Yeah.
he also wrote the the issue that has that famous McFarlane cover, and it's
Oh,
another
yes.
amazing standalone story.
No, for sure. Yeah, of course.
I'm pretty sure those are different issues. Yeah.
Yep.
Uh, anyway, I mentioned Tom Waltz's Ninja Turtles. More recent stuff. The All Reds run on Silver Surfer, which got renumbered. It's actually two runs, but it's really the same run.
Yeah, you can count it all together.
I
I counted Born Again with Miller's Daredevil. It's not technically connected.
which
It's fine.
which ostensibly, um, what's his name? Sorry, it's late. Dan Slott apparently also co-wrote that, but I could never tell just how involved he was in that run. But that is that is one of the great like kind of quirky, zany Douglas Adams type books that's got a real heart to it, and it's a really good love story. I love what's done with Silver Surfer and that love interest. It's wonderful stuff. I want to reread that at some point. Rick Remender's Venom. I love the Ancient Venom stuff. I love how he did the way he managed to turn Flash Thompson into a superhero. It shouldn't work at all. I loved all of that. And then Cullen Bunn had to take over and turn it into kind of an occult book, and it wasn't bad. But I wish Remender had been able to finish it off on his own terms. But it's all ultimately pretty good. Speaking of Ultimate Spider-Man, Bendis, I considered. It's not my favorite Spider-Man run, but it's undeniably worthwhile and thought-provoking. There's stuff, Austin, that I'm sure would make this if I read more of it. Like you mentioned, Mike Grell's Green Arrow. I now own most of that series, but I've read very little of it, and I need to do that. And then stuff like Peter David Hulk. Like we did that arc not too long ago, where I was like, yeah, this is as great as everybody says it is, but I've never read all of it.
And that's another one that's like Claremontian in length. Like he worked
It's
on
so
Hulk
long.
for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Uh, I actually mentioned quite a bit of the rest of this. Resurrection Man I mentioned. Also Peter David, Spider-Man 2099. Old Man Logan. I just could not see putting it in Weapon X both in a top 10.
Yeah, and I love Old Man Logan. It's fantastic.
What else do you have, Austin?
Okay. Well, jumping off of Old Man Logan, from Millar thing, I have Kick-Ass on here. I've not read it in a long time, which is part of it, but
Yeah.
I really loved that stuff when I was younger. I'd like to go back to it. Like that and the movie were really important to me at that age, where I was like 14, and those were like really things that like I went back to a ton at the time.
The only
And just
other Millar
really
thing
loved.
I might have considered, but like you said with that, it's been too long since I've read it. Is Ultimates.
Yeah, and Ultimates is probably my favorite thing in the Ultimate universe, like 1 and 2. So I have like the same kind of thing.
I mean, it's
Those
really
are both
good.
really good. Yeah. I've got Peter David Supergirl on here, which we just reviewed the first like arc of, I would say, and that from what I've read is really great. And I've got another one like Byrne, where I'm like I've read maybe like 40% of it, but it's really great, so I didn't want to put it fully on. Was Perez's Wonder Woman. It's fantastic, but I felt like I just needed to read more of it
I've
to
only
feel
read that
comfortable
first
putting
arc.
it on. Yeah. No, it's fantastic. Like I think it's in 6 trades, and I think I've read 3, or maybe like 2.5. So I was like, I don't feel fully comfortable including it on my list,
I
but
bought a couple back issues not too long ago at a comic shop. I own number 1 and number 7. I
oh,
haven't
and it's
even read
awesome.
7 yet.
No, it's fantastic. Yeah, just like everything I've read from that is amazing. Busiek's Thunderbolts I have on here. Gail Simone's Secret Six.
Yeah, I wondered if Thunderbolts might crack it.
Yeah, it's really good, but not quite. But it was at least like I thought about it. Palmiotti and Gray's Jonah Hex I have on here. Brew Baker and Rucka's Gotham Central
Yeah,
is really
I
great.
I did think about that, but that's
Yeah.
another one. It's just been too long, and I don't know if I've read all of Gotham. I don't think I have. I think like 2 or 3 arcs maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've read all of that, but it's been like probably 10 years,
Remind
and
me, is
all of
that
that's really
40 or
fantastic.
50 maybe?
Oh, I don't know the issue count. I know it's 4 trades, just off the top of my head.
Maybe it's less than I'm
Uh,
thinking. Then I'll look that up too.
yeah, it's not super long, but and that's got like a pretty heartbreaking ending from what I remember.
There's some
I
rough stuff in
put
that book.
there is, yeah, it's a pretty rough book. I don't know why we haven't adapted it yet, but
40. I'm
one
right.
day 40. Okay, that makes sense because it'd be like 10 per trade.
I'm remembering that because I bought some of that recently and I found the last issue. That's what it
Oh,
was.
okay, nice.
Anyway,
I have DeMatteis's Creature Commandos on here. I really liked when I read that. And then the newest thing I have on here is I've got Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers, which of course I really like. But
yeah.
yeah, and those are my honorable
I,
mentions.
I didn't read everything I wrote down. I also wrote that down because I was like, I did that because I wrote down Tom Waltz's Ninja Turtles, and then I went, well, I have said on air that Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers eclipses the quality of that book. So if I'm going to include that, I have to put that down also.
You're more of a Turtles guy than a Transformers guy. Like I think it would make sense for you to put that over Transformers just in a book of what are your favorite runs.
Yeah.
Like even if you're like, I think technically Transformers is a better series, like I think that makes sense.
I can't deny the quality of it. To the point where I've been buying it. I never thought in a million years I would have a Transformers book on my pull list. It's
Not only that, you bought a
me.
G.I. Joe comic because it tied into Transformers.
It had Optimus on the cover, and it was really good.
Oh, things are changing.
I know. What is happening to me?
The world's changing, boys. It's time we change too.
Yeah, unfortunately, Power Rangers is never going to be good enough in comics for me to get you to go that direction. But especially with what it looks like is about to come out now, I don't know if I'm going to be buying very much of that. But
oh no,
we'll see what happens. Anyway,
yeah, hopefully.
Well, is that everything?
It's everything.
Oh, one more runner-up that I meant to mention that actually I will say this was one that almost cracked the top 10. I don't know how I missed it. But it's another one of those runs where it would be there for one arc because I've just not read enough of it. But you had Stan Lee's Spider-Man. I very seriously considered Stan Lee Fantastic Four for the Galactus trilogy.
Sure, yeah. I almost considered at one point Stan Lee's Avengers, and then I went, it's been too long. I don't even remember what the cutoff is for when he gets off of it. So if I can't remember what issue he stops, I know I've read all of his run, but if I can't remember what issue he finishes on, I can't in good conscience even think about it.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. It was a very difficult list to make, but the more we talked about it, I felt a little bit better about my picks.
Yeah. I think we got 20 good books here, or 19 good books. We had one that we shared, but...
Oh, I think... Sorry, for a second I thought you were going to be like, except there's that one cat pick that sucks.
Yeah, sure, Watchmen. Who likes that? Bunch of guys making watches? Who cares?
You've just decided you don't like it anymore because you forgot to list it.
Look at that. It's just like jam on a black dot. Who cares, Alan Moore?
Oh, I'm sorry. We missed a Dan Schneider super chat earlier. Thanks, man. $2 super chat. He said, I heard Born Again Season 2 got better. Test it for me. Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
How about this? You go watch it and then tell me what to think, and I will repeat it for you.
I also heard lots of things about that first season that I did not agree with when I looked at what I looked at.
So I saw a bunch of reviews like around when, I guess just when the embargo broke, and a lot of them were like, it starts really rough, but eventually it becomes like a beautiful homage to or like love letter to the Netflix show. And I'm like, okay, like that doesn't sound interesting to me either.
Yeah, no, that's where I'm at.
Like, I don't know.
Has it been long enough that we need a like legacy sequel to that? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
In a perfect world, you'd get one of two things. You'd get a completely different but really good Daredevil show, or you would get just basically a season 4. And when the guys that were writing that show had a fully planned season 4 that they didn't get to make, I cannot get excited about what feels to me like from what I've seen so far. I'm sorry to say it, like less talented writers just writing a love letter to their show.
No, and so like Born Again's a great title for doing like a relaunch thing. It also sucks that it has like the name of one of the greatest Daredevil comics of all time slapped onto it, and like also has nothing to do with that. And like,
no, because what little they did for Born Again, they already did
in season 3, yeah,
in Netflix.
Yeah, So I don't know. What can you do?
Dan Schneider also says, I heard they brought some of the old guard back. Do you mean writing wise? People have said it got better, but I'm not watching a whole season to find out. That's how I feel about it.
At least he finally has the symbol on his chest. I
Yeah, that's
can't
true.
believe it took 5 seasons for him to have that.
Well, you and I have both said this. Like, I don't mean to be unfair and disingenuous. Maybe it does get better. Maybe I would like it if I tried it. It's not a thing I need.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
You
And
know,
I think
so
for me
like,
too, like,
I
yeah,
just
it's
I already
a
tried the show. It didn't jazz me. I don't. Anyway, what were you gonna say?
no, well, now the comments are gonna be like, but now you're the old person that's like TNG season one's bad. I'm not continuing. But
No, it's
no,
not that.
like
It's not like that at all, though.
I know I'm just being silly, but
No, I know, but I've
no,
heard
season
people say
three.
things like that, and I'm like, I'm trying to think of a good analogy for it, but like, it's not like that because you're talking about a show that's a lot of this, or at least some of the same cast as the Netflix show, which came out of the gate swinging and was wonderful. I shouldn't have to wait around to like the show. And again, I have that show. I don't really, and it ended fine. And
That's what I
I'm
have.
not
Is
desperate
it?
for more Daredevil. Like,
Yeah. No, I think the ending for season three is a good enough ending, and like you, like it started bad, and a lot of the stuff that I didn't like in season one was also that new guard that like they flipped around. Like I'm not saying that they're worse than like the stuff that they were saddled with, but like I didn't like any of it. So I'm like I don't know why I should have faith that the new guard will fix it in season two. But I don't know.
yeah. I mean, we don't mean to be downers or anything, but
Yeah, we don't want to be Robert Downer Juniors.
anyway, we tried to end this show 5 times already, so we're gonna leave off now. Thanks for hanging out with us, folks, and we'll see you again real soon. We'll be back next week. I'm off tomorrow and over the weekend, but we'll be back on Monday with the Captain Logan show. I was Captain Logan, and this was Austin.
Good night, everybody.